everybody, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, then hi, my name is Caitlin, welcome, and today we are talking about my most used eyeshadow palettes of 2022. So the last video on my channel was my least used palettes, and I just need a little bit of a pick-me-up after that because that was sad. Seeing all of my most neglected palettes is never a nice thing, so I wanted to cheer myself up and talk about my most used, my most loved palettes of this year. Now I am going to say before we jump into this video, these numbers may not be 1,000,000,000% correct because that means that I have tallied every single palette that I have used all year, even if I'm like using one shade or all shades, or like it gets a little messy, but these numbers are around about the number that I have used these palettes this year. But just before we jump into the video, if you have not already, definitely like and subscribe because it would mean the world to me. I am doing Vlogmas this year. We are well into Vlogmas and I am loving it. It is stressful, but I'm loving it. Also, if you wanted to see how I did this eye look, I will link my Shop My Stash from this month in the cards so you can see me do this look. I love it. I do not want to take it off, but it is like 9:30 at night right now and I will have to take it off after this video. But let's jump into it. So I'm going to go from the least used to the most used, even though these are the most used. I have 6 palettes. So let's start with the Colourpop Blue Moon. Are we surprised? No, we are not. If you've been on my channel for a long time, or any amount of time really, you will know that blue eyeshadow is my favourite colour to use, and this is what my palette is looking like right now. We did hit a pan in this palette this year, which I'm so excited about, and I love this. I love this so much. We got such a big dip in Dabba D. I don't know if you can see that, but that has not been in a project. That's just natural use, which for me is amazing. But this palette just sparks joy for me. Blue is such, like I always say, blue is my happy colour. Blue is the colour I wear when I'm feeling a little bit down, when I need a pick-me-up. I love blue so much. And this palette just, it gives me so much joy. So on my little spreadsheet, I've got that I've used this palette 17 times this month, which may not sound like a lot, but just wait till we get higher on the list. The usage is kind of crazy. So yeah, 17 uses to hit pan include in and make some pretty big dips. Like I want this palette to look more used because I love it with all my heart. Next, we're carrying on the blue theme, and this is the Book of Magic, and I'm actually wearing this on my eyes today, not the yellow, of course, but this is what this palette looks like. A lot of dips and just a bit of me. Like this look and like all the other looks that I've ever used with this palette, it's so stunning. I remember my first review of this palette, I didn't like it, which is crazy to me right now, but like, I don't know, like I get why I didn't like it. There's not many light shimmers in this palette, which kind of does annoy me a little bit, but the mattes are beautiful. I love the mattes. Some of the shimmers are a little bit, I don't know, a little bit, but I use this for the mattes 100%. I have indie brand shimmers that are out of this world, could not compete, so I don't really care. The mattes in this are just so beautiful. I love them, and there is a big dip in this shade Cursed as well, which is very similar to the pan we got in the Blue Moon, so I obviously have a type. I have on my spreadsheet that I used this 22 times this year. I was about to say this month, but no, this year. That's a lot of usage for me. 22. It's worth it. Like, I love this palette so much. It is beautiful. Next, this was interesting because this is my Soft Glam palette. Now, I think if this wasn't pulled into any Pan Those Eyeshadows projects, I don't think that I would have reached for this as much, but during the start of the year, these 2 shades were rolled into my Pan Those Eyeshadows series randomly, so I did get quite a bit of use out of this palette, to be honest. I don't like how the shade Glistening and Fairy are like I don't know how to describe them. They're more satiny than the main shimmers in this palette, and they're not light enough for me to use as an inner corner highlight, which is a little bit annoying. But for a neutral palette, I've really actually enjoyed this. I'm going to talk about 2 other neutral palettes as well that I've used more than this, but definitely with my Pan Those Eyeshadows series, I've kind of got a little bit of an understanding with this, and I'm really happy about that. I've got my spreadsheet that I've used this 26 times this year, which again, doesn't maybe sound like that much, but it is pretty good for me. 26 times, that's like a whole month of makeup wear. I think that's pretty good for a palette that is very old in my collection. I'm very, very happy with that. And this is definitely something that I may pan in the future. I have been leaning more towards very cool tones. And I mean, there is Dusty Rose, which makes a really nice cool tone shade, but I'm not sure. Maybe. This is like a might pan in the future. Next is the Colourpop Just My Luck palette, and this is what it looks like. I currently have Charmed in a Pan Those Eyeshadows. You know what? I'll put it in. I'll pop it in. There you go. I'll show you the full palette. This is what the palette looks like, the completed palette. So again, some of these shades have been rolled into a Pan Those Eyeshadows series, and Colourpop, as we all know, is very hard to pan. It takes a lot of usage. So I do think that if it wasn't for Pan Those Eyeshadows, I don't think I would have reached for it as much as I did. I love this shade Mary Jane. It is like a yellowy green shimmer. It's stunning. It's definitely my favourite shade in this palette. And you can see that Charmed has a huge dip in it from my Pan Those Eyeshadow series as well. I do think most of these uses have come from Charmed because this is so firmly pressed. And as you can see, I have still not hit pan on it. It's a lot. It's a lot. I don't normally gravitate towards greens, but it's very interesting that this is so high on the list. I have on my spreadsheet that I've used it 31 times this year. Definitely Pan Those Eyeshadows related, but with my Pan Those Eyeshadows, I do often use the full palette with the designated shadow. So I've got a fair bit of use in this, but again, the only shades that really show use are the 2 that have been in projects. Okay, so the next 2 probably won't even be a surprise. I've tried to make it a bit suspenseful by putting the highest uses at the end of the video. But like thinking back, you're all gonna know. The second till highest use. Does that make sense? Who knows? It is the modern Renaissance. We all know this. It's battered, it's bruised, it's used, it's loved. This is my modern Renaissance palette. As you know, I am wanting to pan this next year. This will be my Pan That palette next year. I don't think I've actually said that out loud on my channel. I've like alluded, but meet 2023 Pan That palette, Modern Renaissance. And I've known this since about halfway through 2022. So I've kind of made as much progress as I can on this without taking away from my Pan That palette. So I finished the shade Tempera this year. I've hit pan on Raw Sienna and Burnt Orange this year. I've expanded Vermeer a lot. I don't think Cypress Umber was this year, but it was recently. I've really been working on this palette kind of behind the scenes as a little bit of a starting point for next year because I'm not going to be able to finish this palette in a year. So I just wanted to get as much use out of it as possible as a bit of a starting point, like I said. My spreadsheet says I have used this 85 times this year, and that is completing Tempera and hitting the pans, like I said. So yeah, we're in a very good spot to start this next year, and I was a little bit scared about reaching for this, but this year it's definitely calmed my nerves, and I'm really looking forward to panning this. And finally, we all know, if you don't know, where have you been? My most used palette of 2022 is my e.l.f. Truffles Bite Size palette. Now, this isn't a spoiler because I am actually filming this video only like a few days after I filmed my Pan That Palette update, and I haven't actually used this. So this is looking the exact same as it looked in my update. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it up there. But this is what it looks like. You can see this is battered. This is on its last legs, and I'm really proud of myself. I know it's only a 4-pan palette, but I'm gonna finish 3 shades out of this by the end of the year, and I'm really proud of myself for that. So I have on my spreadsheet that I've used it 112 times, but I suspect it is so much higher than that, because I can't possibly, especially when I'm at uni, I can't possibly track every single time that I use this. It's just not possible. So I'm betting much more than that. But yeah, I'm just really proud of myself. We've nearly finished a black as well. We've made like really good progress on the black. And yeah, these 2 shades. This was a very dark brown, like an eyebrow shade for me. I'm really proud of myself for this. Yeah, check back at the end of the month to see if we managed to finish these 2 shades. I really think we can do it. I'm so excited. So yeah, we're leaving this on a very, very high note. I'm really proud of myself for my progress this year. These are my most used palettes, my most loved, my beloved babies in my collection, and I'm just really proud of myself, and I'm really happy, and it's definitely put me in a better mood than filming my least used palettes, because that was sad. That was really sad. I hope you did enjoy this video, guys. If you did, definitely like and subscribe because it would mean the world to me. Again, I am doing Vlogmas, so I am uploading every single day in the month of December. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun as well. I can't wait to see you tomorrow for a new video. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.